Hey everybody, it's my first video of the new year, and I thought I'd do it yet again on French tanks. I've completed Tier 3 of the French tank tree, which was quite fun. It's by far the most fun I've had in the French tree since I've started playing them. Tier 1 was just such an agonizing grind. Starting with Tier 2, if you were in a battle that didn't up tier you, this tank, the Char B tier, is an unstoppable juggernaut. It literally takes like 4 or 5 tanks to put you down. One of the things they did with this model of the Char B was make it so the gun had more traverse, left or right movement, and up and down. They also put armor over top of the treads. Again, the disadvantage was your turret. That one-man turret is just ridiculous. The little 45mm gun isn't half bad, but it's slow reload rate because of the one-man turret. I'll show you the other Char B just as a comparison. It's the Char B Bis. See, it has the armoring over top of the treads doesn't come all the way over like on the tier, and you see that the gun has absolutely no left or right movement, just up and down. Still a very potent and well armored tank. Actually has some pretty good mobility. I don't know if it's because the Tier 1 French tanks are just so freaking slow. I mean, my mantra for Tier 1 French was, you are never going to capture a victory point. Everyone gets there before you. It was just before the engine upgrades, all these tanks barely moved. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a 2-man tank. One round basically could take out your entire crew. That's one of the reasons why I like 4 or 5-man crews. Is in the game, if say your gunner gets taken out, somebody from another position can just move into his spot, which is awesome and keeps you fighting. But these guys only have a 2-man crew. The gun is just pitiful. You eventually get an upgraded shell that can actually do a little bit of damage. But when you first start out, it is just an exercise in futility. They do have one of the most interesting AA vehicles. Somebody called it a tractor with 4 machine guns. This is the Tier 1 AA vehicle. I actually did pretty good against aircraft in this. Not too good against other vehicles. But it was fun to play. This guy, it has, I think it's a 25 pounder or a 25mm gun in it. It was just, I liked playing it the most. A friend of mine used to own one of these Hotchkiss cannons, but it was the fastest of the French vehicles, and I actually I don't know if it was just my dumb luck being the worst player in the world, but I actually scored some kills with the gun, so it was fun to play, scooting around all over the field. Now when you got to Tier 2, you start to get tanks like this. The AMC 35, it has the 47mm gun that the Char B had, or same caliber as the Char B. I don't know if they're actually the same model of gun. It moved. The gun wasn't all that bad. The armor was meh, but coming out of Tier 1, it was all right. The tank that I thought was going to be better for me, but ended up being a disappointment, was the Soma. I had heard some things about the Soma, and I had hoped for a little bit more. Again, limit of the crew was, you hit X-ray, it'll show you. One guy in the turret, two down below. It's just bad ergonomics. If you take out that, it's the turret hits on French tanks are awful. It just puts you right out of the fight. I thought this was going to be a much better tank for me, but didn't turn out to be. It was a little bit of a disappointment. Still spaded it out and had a little bit of fun. Now, my love affair for the Sherman came back into play because the French, of course, because of Lend-Lease during World War II, had the M4A1, which I absolutely loved. I loved it when I was playing it in Americans. In fact, I have my Americans tricked out the low tier 2 right now, so I can play Shermans. But the Shermans I just loved, and with the French, I don't know if it's different at all from the American M4A1, but I did really well in it. And of course, you got the M10, which is a awesome tank. Now keep in mind this is fully spaded out. It's got the extra armor treads on the side that actually do help protect the tank, and it's got some good rounds and really can one shot. You point. It's the first time in the French tier. You literally point at a tank, you step on the trigger, and bam, you blow up a tank. It's one of the tanks I loved from the American tree, and I got glad I got to play it again. An interesting tank that I never finished spading out because it just infuriated me. It was this SAU 40 with its little 70 with its big 75 millimeter cannon in it and a little machine gun turret. It was just an aggravating tank to play. It says its max speed was 40, but I think that's, if you took it to the top of Mount Everest and pointing it and pushed it down, it may reach 40 kilometers an hour. That's the one thing about the French tanks is they might seem to, on flat land, have a kind of speed. The minute you hit an incline, they just slowed down. I was literally going 3 kilometers an hour up a hill, and it was, aggravating. But tier 2, I had some bad experiences because I was often up tiered, so I didn't get those moments where my Charpies just rolled over the battlefield and owned everything before them. But still, it was better than the the frustration that was in tier 1. Then I hit tier 3. One of the cool tanks that you get is the first AMX 13. It has the SA-49 75 millimeter gun. I'm just trying to. There we are. I love this tank. It was fast. It was hard hitting. This is the one that was a manual loader. The one thing, the engine in the front. I mean, because it's almost you're always, in every other tank that you're fighting with, you sort of have the mantra built into you: point your nose slightly off, slightly angled, because your front's the most armored part. When you angle it, it increases the value of the armor. But with this tank, anything that hits you in the front just went into your engine. But still, it was so fun to play, so fast. If you got behind a hill and everything, it was just a great tank. And it had the little oscillating turret, had okay depression, but it had a long front, so it didn't have, fantastic depression. The premium tank for this tier is one of my favorites. I'm still playing. I'm playing tier 3 French to buy out tier 4 stuff before I go into tier 4. But was this Sherman with the with the SA-50. Basically, it's the turret from the AMX-13 on a Sherman chassis. It's fast. This SA-50 cannon was the autoloader. I understand that the Austrians used almost the same design. What it is, if I hit X-ray, you can see it. Bloop. It actually has two revolver-like cylinders that fed the cannon. So you get like 12 shots fairly rapidly. I mean, not one after another, but a lot quicker than manual load. Before you had to do the long reload. The long reload is really long because I guess it's guys putting new shells in the cylinders, and you have to load all 12. But before that, it's a darn good tank. The turret I find to be a little less armored than its others, but it's a good fast hitter. I try to use it at range. But really fun to play. The other tank that I didn't think anything of until I started playing it was they have an M4A4, okay, with the SA-50 cannon on the Sherman chassis, and I love this tank. It was great. Again, that SA-50 gun at your tier with the rounds you have is just devastating, and I love the fact that I can penetrate Soviet heavy tanks from the front. Maybe not destroy them, but I can penetrate them. Anything on the sides, I'm one shot in KVs, and it's just a great tank. It really surprised me because I didn't think, oh yeah, another Sherman with a big long cannon on it. But it turned out to be really fun. What else do we have? Oh, and the Brawler. In the American tree, just as in the French get the Jumbo. Chunks and chunks of armor on the front. Before I made this video, I played this tank on the new Maginot Line map, and had one of the coolest games ever, where it turned out a bunch of us in these tanks rushed, or what we call YOLO charge, the victory point. The map had one victory point, and we literally just held it for the entire game. Very hard to penetrate this tank from the front. I equally know the frustration of other players because I play against this tank, trying to get around to its sides where you can do damage to it, or from behind. But from the front, it's just unstoppable. There are things that can penetrate it from the front, but few and far between at the right tier. Now the French have some tanks. This is what they consider to be their heavy tank. It's a tank called the ARL-44. I never come across this tank before, but I did look it up on Wikipedia. It was a thing. It's got like these little charby treads. It's not bad maneuvering. The gun's all right. I would put it in the meh range. But it just doesn't seem like its armor warrants a heavy rating, but it's better than most mediums. But it's got good speed, good maneuverability. Not fantastic, but for some of the other French tanks I had just come up from, it was pleasant. Now, the last tank I did in Tier 3 was this one. It's basically the same tank, but with this colossal 90mm gun. It's actually considered to be self-propelled artillery by the game. And I just can't imagine. I haven't used it yet because it would push me up into higher tier battles, and I don't want to do that yet. Basically, so I'm having fun where I am. But it's got this 90mm gun that should wreck Panthers. We'll have to see. But can't wait to put this on the field and see what it does. It's such a high profile. It's got the ARL 44 chassis and everything, so it's going to have okay speed. The reverse speeds suck on these tanks, but fun. Can't wait to play it. Now I just started doing um, tier 4, and the first tank that I am working on is, of course, the MX-13 with the self-loading gun. Um, Again, I know it's a light tank, not the best armored, but it's damn fast, maneuverable. I love the gun. At least in the tier I'm in now. Probably going to get to the tier where I play this, and it's going to be bouncing off everything. I'm going to be sadly disappointed, but I'm having fun with it right now. It beats the hell out of the Chaffee, and I love the Chaffee. Uh, but the gun is just, you can actually hurt people with it. The AA gun for tier 3 was a deuce and a half with a 40 millimeter in the back. I'm not kidding you. Hold on for a second. This guy. Um, Literally a deuce and a half with a 40 millimeter in the back. Now, yeah, silly. A little effective against. Yeah, it is effective against the aircraft. I won't take that away from it. But it also can do damage to ground vehicles. Pretty good damage to ground vehicles at this tier, depending on what you're coming up against. Panzer IIIs and stuff like that. You can pretty much own. The problem is you have absolutely no armor. A guy with a machine gun, tank with just his machine gun, his coax, can destroy this vehicle, and rightly so. But I have just been, I hadn't been having a good time with the French. Tier 1 and 2, until I got the American Sherman and the M10, really were just, oh my God, painful grind. You were like, you get extra points for, research points, for scoring a victory point. So, when you're, doing this, you're like, all right, yeah, I'm going to go to the victory point and capture the victory point first. You never made it. Every tank was flying past you, knocking you around. You'd eventually show up at the combat to the first tank to, fire at you, destroy you, and you pull your next tank. It was a really aggravating grind. Now the H-39, okay, with everything being said, this little tank, the H-39, um, wasn't half bad. Of all the French tanks, I don't know if that's a contextual thing, where it wasn't half bad because the other one sucked so bad. But this tank, you actually could do some stuff. Again, it had the restricted crew and everything, but it moved. Unless it was a hill with attitude, and then it didn't. The gun could do damage, but again, it was just a really tough time. I can't wait to see uh, all the French tanks. The one that I really want to unlock, because I just like the look of it, and I've watched people play it online, real players, people can actually play the game well, is this AMX-30. Um, is just a really cool looking tank. It looks like it can deal some damage. This one had the 105. They have two versions of it. They're top tier tanks. Um, but that's it. Again, I can't recommend War Thunder enough if you like military vehicles and tanks. You got to play this game, guys. It is free to play. You don't have to put any money into it. And just have fun. Hey, if you want to meet up with me online, hey, gladly play with you. That didn't sound right. Well, anyway. Well, just wanted to share that with everybody. You guys have a great day. See you later.